If you're wondering what this is and why it looks like that, bear with me and I'll try to explain. This is our hot water cylinder, and around it you can just about see parts of our heating system. Eventually I want the whole thing to look something like this, and this is where we started. When we moved in, we had a really small gravity-fed tank in the kitchen. It was low pressure, barely large enough for both of us to have a shower, and in a really annoying place. We also found this stray dog in here, which we decided to keep as he seemed friendly enough. The other thing we had when we moved in was a useless gallery area over the stairs. The eaves over it were too low to sit at anything like a piano or desk, and it just made sense to put a big tank up here and connect up some of the underfloor heating. We got some people in who cut some notches in our thankfully very deep joists, worked out which pipes needed to go where, and connected it all up, leaving us with a nice big empty cupboard that will one day become a pantry in a few years or decades. Since this manner of landing is named a gallery, I thought, why not have a cylinder on show? Because normally we hide all this stuff from view like we're embarrassed about it, but it does a really important job, so why not show it off? Next thing I knew, my brain had chucked out an idea of turning it into something more closely resembling tanks in a tap room or brewery, which look really cool. The only way I could think of getting this effect was by applying copper leaf, because these days hot water tanks have the insulation encapsulated inside the shell, and if you're of a certain vintage, or your heating system is, you may remember them when they were bare copper cylinders with a kind of red puffer jacket over them. First job I had to do was remove all the labels and the glue left behind. I did this with a combination of a fair bit of elbow grease, window cleaner, which contains vinegar, and some isopropyl alcohol, which lifted the glue. I did also check with the manufacturer if doing all this would void the warranty, and they said no, please send us some pictures when you're finished. And yes, the labels had really important information on them too, so before you panic too much, here is a printout of this info that I've very carefully transcribed and made arty and framed. Next step was to cover everything with size. I'm pretty sure size is just watered down PVA like we used at school, but it's called size to sound grown up and important. Once that was on, I left it for 15 minutes before applying the leaf, which isn't actually copper. Truthfully, I've no idea what alloy it is, but it's something that's not supposed to tarnish. The problem you'll soon discover with size is that it's white, and the problem with a cylinder is it's white, so how are you supposed to see the bit you've missed? The leaf soon revealed that. After a rough first coat, I went in for a second, and a third, and a fourth, if I'm being completely honest. I also went round all the little rubber rings and painted them in bronze, and the hideous thermostat, which I don't think has been redesigned in the best part of 40 years. Anyway, ours is now gilded. The wires will need to be covered eventually too, and I'm thinking of hiding those inside some dummy pipes or something, and boxing in some of the most plasticky bits with oak beading or similar. Quick check to see how it looks through the banister, which incidentally is a mass-produced Georgian-style monstrosity from the late 1980s, and you can see they really tried to make it look traditional, but they didn't have mahogany available then, so they used sapele, and the shapes on it are just like all wrong and thin and ugly, and I really hope we can afford to replace it with something better in oak and build some kind of leaded light screen for the gallery, but we'll see. Next job was to apply some leaf to the 2 expansion vessels. Our whole system is unvented, meaning we have 1 expansion vessel for the hot water and 1 for our central heating. I decided making everything copper would be boring, and as a consequence the central heating cylinder got some silver treatment. And this is where we are now. I still need to paint the walls, put in some flooring, get a new balustrade made and a screen to go with it, but we can't do most of that until we've renovated the other rooms. But we can paint though, and I might be able to do a bit of that soon. With the help of a scaffold.